January 6, 2025. Please rise for the invocation. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come together to work for the good for the city of Eagle Lake. May our time and efforts be productive and fruitful for the city and everyone impacted. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Billings notified me that he would not be able to attend tonight's meeting. Commissioner Perry.
Here.
Commissioner Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Keating. Here. Mayor Vitar.
Here.
Make a motion to excuse Commissioner Billings.
To excuse. Commissioner Fuller. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone in the audience who has something they want to bring up that's not on the agenda, please come to the podium now. Staff reports. Coach Brian.
Good evening. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of 2024. You have a breakdown of the code cases by, but this is everything that we've done through the year. As of October 7, 2024, the department has 3 personnel, 1 administrative assistant, 1 code enforcement officer, and 1 permit tech. We had 281 total cases for the year, 0 anonymous complaints, because we can't take those anymore. 164 of those cases were proactive, 117 were reactive. We had 2 cases taken before the special magistrate, 2 properties abated, which cleaned and mowed by personnel. We had 1 structure that was removed from its site. We are near the end of a foreclosure. We removed 1,187 snipe signs from the roadways, which comes out to about 99 signs along. We performed 213 lien searches, 146 fence plan reviews, and 116 fence inspections. For permitting, we had 306 new home permits, 31 renovation permits, 28 accessory permits, 77 re-roof permits, 163 miscellaneous trades permits, which include mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and irrigation. And then we had 24 commercial permits. That was for last year. Now for the month of January, we had 6 cases last meeting in December. 5 are closed due to compliance. 1 has remained open and working towards getting the permit. We have had 18 new cases this month, 1 for high grass, weeds, overgrowth, junk, trash, excessive debris, and accumulation and disposal of rubbish. We had 1 building permit required for covered porch. We had 2 building permits required for fences, 13 trash recycling containers at curbside, and 1 theft of utilities. We performed 10 lien searches, 18 fence permit plan reviews, 9 fence inspections. Permitting, we had 2 new home permits, 7 renovation permits, 19 re-roof permits, 3 commercial permits, and 17 miscellaneous trade permits. That's just for this one. Any questions?
Visitors are noisy out there, especially with the snipe signs. It's
Never ending.
it seems like every one you pick up, there's 3 of them come flying in behind you.
They come right behind. I let them rock up.
For that reason,
Yeah, he didn't even come, but he's picked up, so, or his staff, so. Yeah.
Good evening. These stats are from our last commission meeting that we had. We ran 214 calls for service. We arrested 63 individuals. That's comprised of 88 misdemeanors and 8 felonies. 47 of those subjects were arrested for various traffic offenses. 5 subjects were arrested for outstanding warrants and WAOJs. 3 subjects were arrested for various domestic violence cases. 1 subject was arrested for trespassing. We had 6 different people arrested for possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. 2 of those had over 30 grams and a firearm on them. So we arrested them for the firearm during the commission of the felony. We had 1 subject leave their phone, forget their phone at a racetrack. Another subject came in and stole it. We reviewed the video. We recognized the subject, and we went to her house every single shift until we arrested her. It took like probably 10 visits, but we picked her up, and then when we got to her house, we found all kind of other. I think she ended up with 5 or 6 other additional charges by the time it all worked out. Every time we went by and found something else that she had done that was illegal. So, to my knowledge, she's still in there. We conducted 17 warrant checks, 367 traffic stops, and just over 1,000 building checks and control notices. We also did the Christmas light contest. It seemed to go really well this year. I think a person on 6th Street ended up winning first place, which was nice. They have 2 small kids, so I'm sure that money helped out a lot with their family with the Christmas gifts and everything. So I heard a lot of positive stuff about the Christmas parade and stuff too. So I've already been starting planning that and get that kind of solidified. The mounted unit, that was the only parade that our mounted unit did for the whole year, was our parade. It went really well, so we're really excited about it coming back and doing it again. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Appreciate the continued efforts.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, also, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but behind the racetrack, I had the inmates out there picking up trash and cleaning out the old, the homeless individuals that used to live back there a while ago, left mattresses and stuff. So I had them pick that up, and then also a lot of the vegetation and stuff. They've been working on getting it cleaned up. I've been trying to get with CSX to help us out for a while, and they're just kind of overrun. So I've just been, as we get inmates to come out there and help clean it up, I think, if people saw the amount of trash that was back there before, they would be concerned. So they were able to get all that stuff picked up over the weekend. So we're going to continue to just, monitor that too. And hopefully I get CSX out there with some heavy equipment and at least mulch a trail that the guys can just patrol in the car instead of having to get out on foot and walk through it all the time. But I'm still working on that. Right now, the one guy that does that is like, sounds like it's the whole state, so it's hard to get that equipment and stuff. But
That's great then, yeah.
the inmates are definitely helping us out with that.
Appreciate that. And you pushed some of it back as well over by Pullman too, right?
Yeah, we've
Some of the
been,
vegetation.
yeah, and then I had them hit that vegetation off of Crystal Beach at the lake again too. I think there's a couple of more stumps that we're going to get. The county just bought the sheriff's office. We have a skid steer with it's not a mulching bed, it's really like a heavy duty brush guard or bush hog, but it makes it way easier as long as we stay on top of it. It shouldn't be a problem. So I'm trying to get them to get a mulching bed too. That is nice. So we'll see. Maybe we can see on there.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. City manager's report, Norm?
I just have a couple things that aren't on my report. One is I want to commend the Public Works Department and Mr. Fletcher for how he handled and his department handled the water break on New Year's Eve. He had the water restored in less than an hour. I think that was fantastic. I also want to give out a shout out to Sammy because I called her and she was driving home and she pulled over to post it on Facebook so that everybody was aware of what was happening. And I'm going to thank Miss Judy because she saw people coming to City Hall, so she ran to City Hall and put a note on the door that people's water wasn't shut off, it was a break. So thank you all very much. You did a fantastic job. We had the Christmas parade, and I think it was a big success. We have not received any complaints, just a lot of positive feedback. The other item on my report is I spoke with Jimmy Wilson, and he had approached me after the last meeting about possibly naming the park at the beach after, or I should say in memory of Susie and JR. They were both mayors after passing. He had talked to Tom about it, but obviously Tom is not currently
Okay, thank you. There are no public hearings, no old business, under new business, consideration of fixed property damage. It's you too.
Yes, basically Tom received an email from the ballpark. There was damage done to one of the batting cages where I guess someone hit it with a car, it was hit and run. They went through that person's insurance and that has been repaired. Mr. Fletcher went down there and took pictures for us, and I put the pictures in the agenda packet. I just need, approval for the release so that, I think it's related to construction can be paid.
Make a motion to approve the release.
Second.
Motion and second.
Is that to include having you sign whatever necessary paperwork? No?
I would think the mayor would sign.
Okay,
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Poland,
yes.
Commissioner Perry, Commissioner Peters. Yes. Mayor Mika.
Yes. Continuing consideration of the conservation project agreement relating to the development of Polk County Regional Water Cooperative Conservation Grant.
Attorney Maxwell reviewed this for me, and basically, she had no objections to this, as it didn't require any additional funds from the city.
I'll entertain a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion and second, roll call.
I did have a question, because reading down through, it sounded like this was establishing a relationship with a budget not to exceed $75,000, that the cities would be on the hook for 50% of. Is that not?
Yeah, I don't have the agreement open in front of me. I don't have it off the house. It's my understanding.
Understanding that ours would be I expect ours would be a very small portion of it, but also making sure that we don't keep our eye off the ball of it, that it doesn't turn into a snowballing kind of mostly for the benefit of whoever's involved with the water cooperative, because one thing that I've learned about the water cooperative is that they'll go off and do fun things.
It's more thing.
Because it started out with hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to go look at this, and then it was they already had it planned out, and a bunch of millions of dollars later, that everybody's going to have to pay
You
into.
were saying that it's not gonna be anything for our city, right? That's what you came to realize?
The conservation, this is from 3.8. Parties agree that the conservation program cost shall be limited annually to a maximum aggregate budget of $150,000 from all sources, and the conservation program costs will be split each year between member governments and other funding sources, with the member governments obligated to pay no more than 50% of the same, up to a maximum annual collective amount of $75,000. Member governments may agree to adjust one or both of the conservation program cost and members' cost limitations by modifying or amending this agreement using the method described in section 4. But basically says that across all of the cities that are a part of this agreement, that it's $75,000, and it basically sounds that it's prorated based on the water usage within that group. So it from my understanding of it, is it encourages member governments of the water cooperative to establish a water conservation program and keep it in play, because the comparison is how well you utilize the conservation program. Is that?
I don't want to put into words like the agreement as a whole, but that's part of what the water cooperative's goal is.
They're trying to drive conservation.
Not much different.
And
from
basically-
what we've done historically in past ordinances.
Where we've done like the star, yeah, we did the star, yeah.
So we would have to have somebody create that initiative here and then go and do that, and then we might be on the hook for up to $75,000.
We wouldn't be-
So this is, the water cooperative is many cities are.
Yeah, it's-
Go in your microphone.
And the city of Eagle Lake that is one of the very small cities in the water cooperative. And so this agreement authorizes the Polk Regional Water Cooperative Board, which the city is a member of, but the city of Eagle Lake is a very small fraction of it. And most of the monies are allocated in order of the size. So for instance, Lakeland is a member. Lakeland pays
The county.
multiples and multiples more than what the city pays. Now, not that it's not going to be significant for the city ultimately, but this is a it's relatively minor, and it's one of the things is to be able to hire a consultant to come up with conservation types of activities that will ultimately be implemented. So it's kind of early on.
It was more so just as it gets divvied up, right? I would expect our portion of it would likely be very small, but just keeping that in mind as different responsibilities shift throughout. That was more so. Because you have, within the Polk Regional Water Cooperative, you have the county. The county's kind of they're helping drive the majority of the process. And then of course you have Lakeland, Winter Haven, Haines City, like all of the larger cities, as well as most of the smaller cities. I think there's only one or two that didn't stay on with the cooperative.
Yeah, I think there is one or two of the real small ones.
The
I don't
challenge
know
is
what the
that-
ramifications will be from.
Right, the challenge is that Southwest Florida Water Management District, who handles all the permitting, as far as how much water you can pull out of the ground, they're the ones that run it, and if you aren't part of the cooperative, you're still gonna have to go to them for the water, it's just you're gonna pay retail rates as opposed to being part of the cooperative and get wholesale rates.
Okay.
So for us, we're part of the wholesale rates, but it means that some of the costs us along the ride, right.
So it's something you have to be a
It's-
part of each year, and you have to vote to stay in it, is that what this is?
Not stay in it, we are in it. What did they say in the very beginning? At first it was the cities were joining for a seat at the table. That was the way it started, and then now
So you have a voice at the
I hate to use the
table.
word 800-pound gorilla, but it is now, it is and they're doing, this is really, it's for a valid, legitimate need for expanding water needs in the Central Florida community, and getting ahead of those needs instead of, always the other tail wagging the dog. So we are a part of that. We're a very small part of it, but it's, I don't want to say the city doesn't have a choice, the city does have a choice, but there's always,
Well-
it's been sold as a benefit, so that's,
Yeah.
it's, the intent is for it to be a benefit. It's still in progress. In fact, one of the things that the city's working on right now, the eminent domain of the property over where the Green Acres plant is, that's been ongoing for some time now. That is in furtherance of the Polk Regional Water Cooperative to be able to put a pipeline in there. That's going to be one of the big things, and so the city's part in that. So it does affect, the city is doing its part in furtherance of this cooperative, and that's those funds that we're expending are actually outside of our agreement, but it's part of the
Also, it's been
for the greater good. But we have an amount of money that we're allowed to draw out of the ground and out of our wells. Southwest Water Management District limits how much the city can take, and so this is just part of the cities having to work together all for the common. There's so much water that we can consume.
Yeah, Brian and his guys do a phenomenal job with helping make sure that we're in the good graces with Southwest Florida Water Management District. But they say you can pull X number of gallons, right? And in order to be able to continue to pull X number of gallons, their position was basically that you gotta be a part of this water cooperative if you want to continue to be able to pull X number of gallons.
And I will say, I was meeting with one of the city's engineers this afternoon, and the city is teetering dangerously close to its limits, and there may be days that we actually are a little bit over. So it is something that is a real consideration of the city, and with the development that's been approved but yet to be built, and then the further development that will come in the future.
So it takes that into consideration, that even though we're small, we're growing really quickly each year, and that's gonna cover all that?
That's the intent of it. Again, it's ever morphing. When the water management, the Regional Water Cooperative was created, it's changed so much because you can't start something that started, 15 years ago, or maybe about that. And there's just, you don't know at the very beginning what things are going to look like. So it's ever evolving, it's ever changing, and it's a lot to
Where they
around.
landed is a well field that's out of the frost-proof area that will pull water from well fields down here, and then they'll basically pump it up throughout Polk County to the different cities. Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
Mayor Miko.
Yes. The consent agenda, items A and B, A being the approval of the regular city commission meetings, and B being the bad debts list. I'll entertain a motion in a second for that.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A and B.
I'll second.
Audience? Commission? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Secretary?
Yeah, I just had one real quick thing, and this was not something that I was planning to bring up, but there was a question that came up, and just as a point of information, the question came up, and I didn't have the opportunity to speak to the person who had brought up the issue of concern, and so I'll just tell all of you, just as a matter of process and procedure, when a motion is made, if somebody makes a second, I'm sure, hopefully all the commissioners are aware, that is not necessarily indicating that a commissioner is going to vote a certain way or has to vote a certain way. Many times a second is made for the purpose of discussion only, just so a discussion can be had, and the commissioner that makes the second sometimes changes their vote for the ultimate vote. So that was just a point of information to the extent the question came up, and in the event that anybody was not aware of that, I just wanted to just put that out there. But otherwise, I just mentioned regarding the eminent domain for the Regional Water Cooperative project that is ongoing. We're expecting to have a pre-order of taking conference towards the end of February, and then the order of taking hearing, hopefully at the beginning of March, and the beginning with the Judicial Assistance Office. Initially, it was supposed to take place the end of this month and then early February. However, with the city manager being out, hopefully he'll be back by then, but with the uncertainty, I was reluctant to set hearing dates with the possibility that we need to then coordinate and have to push it back a month. So we're looking at hopefully the next 60 days, and we should be, it's not over and it's not done, but at least we'll be in a place where the city should hopefully have ownership of that piece of property and be able to make some changes and get some things moving on that. And that was all I had.
Okay, thank you. City Commissioners, Commissioner Freeman?
Was gonna bring up about the potholes that are just springing up in the center of 17, and I spoke to, from Dawn today, and she said that, because the cone was put there, that they're gonna be doing that tomorrow. So that was my big thing, was those little potholes that were getting bigger and bigger. And then I was recently driving around, and I'm wondering if I don't even know if this is something we would vote on, but just contacting FDOT about, there's a lot of signs that are stop signs that are completely faded, where they're not even red anymore, and that can be a problem with all the extra traffic coming in. So I'm not sure, Heather or John, like, if that's something we would vote on to try and get those upgraded. There's also like names of street signs that are green and they're all, not green anymore, and they're falling over, and it's just not the way it should be. So
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. That's usually not something that gets voted on by the commission, but I'm sure Brian, the Public Works Director, he may be already aware. He probably already has a running list of signs that are. Oh, you do not? Oh, you do have a list. I thought you were nodding no. So typically that's going to be an operational issue for the Public Works Director. But now it's been brought up, and Brian is aware that it's a concern of the commission. I'm sure he will proceed accordingly.
yeah, I didn't know if that was going to be a city thing or if that would be like a state of Florida thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you talking about?
Depend on where it's at. Yes,
I
I
missed-
may depend on where they're at.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then the roads of, like stop signs and like the actual, like official signs with the addresses, like on the street. A lot of them are,
Might be
the wind
private
and the
property.
hurricane.
Yeah.
The sun, some of them are not really readable, and then especially at night, there isn't a reflector to it. So just like the standard way you would have street signs, some of them are really taking a beating with the sun and then all the storms that came through. Yeah, so that's what I was.
So if there are signs that are in the city's purview, city roads and city's responsibility, that's going to be Brian in Public Works. And if there's ever an event where, if he's got a budget and he needs more to, for instance, if we had a hurricane and it blew down all the stop signs in town and he needs additional funds, that's
Yeah,
something that
there's
can
just
be.
some that are like in the main areas that are, really faded, or you can't see them when they're kind of turned, and so now you're not really sure which.
Now, if it's with regard to DOT roads,
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure if they were at DOT and that's just a phone call, or if that's, yeah.
well, that's something that the DOT is going to know which ones are their roads, and I'm sure that's a matter that the city manager and the Public Works Director can contact, would be the ones to contact DOT and say, hey, can you come and take a look and and fix some of these things. But if it's a DOT road, it's
Same,
the
just call the
DOT's
office.
purview, we can certainly make those calls.
Yeah, so we just get together, just call the office.
And then with the stop signs, with the 2 new stop signs that are right near City Hall, they put the 2 up right in the neighborhood. I've seen that some people are going through it, and really it's because, you know, it's new and a lot of people aren't aware of it. Is there any way, usually with a stop sign, you would also have the line painted on the ground. Is there any way to put the white line on both sides so that people would then realize, oh, now I'm going over a line and there's a stop sign, and maybe it would just make people, because also it's really tall, the signs are both really tall, and so maybe that would make it so not so many people are kind of blowing through them because they're not used to them being up. So would that be FDOT or would that be the city?
Well, again, if it's a city road, then it's gonna be something for the city to look into, and most of those things that you mentioned are highly regulated, and there's gonna be, you know, DOT manuals, or traffic engineers have done studies of the types of markings that are supposed to go before certain types of traffic signaling. But if there's a particular intersection that you have concerns or questions about, I'm sure between our sergeant and public works director, that's something that they can look into.
Okay, would that be, where they put the new stop signs right in front of City Hall, would that be city or would that be FDOT?
It's ours,
Eagle Avenue.
It's ours.
Oh, okay. So
But
then-
as far as it's not, when you're doing markings on roadways, it's not as simple as just going out and painting it, you know, just putting a white stripe.
Right, that's why I
There's
was
some
asking,
guidelines,
which
and if
is,
there's an
uh,
accident and we just got willy-nilly putting striping out, then
Well, I
we're,
figured because they put up the stop signs,
Yeah.
that I was thinking that would just naturally come with it,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't, and so I wanted to say that maybe that would help from people who aren't used to it, and they take that as a cut through, would be like, oh, hold on, there is something new, this bright line on the ground now that usually follows stop signs, so. So that was it for me.
Jane?
I'm pretty low key. The only thing I'd like to maybe look into, and it's more just kind of a research thing, I know we talked a little bit at one point about Nixle. Sheriff's Office and Bulk Emergency Management use it for mass communication. But thinking through like the water main break, if we had something where we could shoot out kind of a proactive notification. I know before, I think it was kind of one of those things where it was a cost prohibitive thing just because we were still really small. But I think we're probably getting to about the size where it might make a little bit more sense. I don't even know what pricing for anything like that runs, but you know, if we had an opportunity where we could do a proactive notification, because the challenge is you do reverse 911. That's cool. You get everybody has landline, but not everybody has landlines, and you know, not everybody who we have on file is the one who's the user of our services. So, you know, with that, we could encourage residents to sign up for it and then send out proactive notifications when there's other stuff. You know, maybe use it for other stuff too. You know.
yeah, is that like another like a service provider contract that we have with like?
Yeah, Everbridge is the company that owns or.
That's the one with the one, yeah, that's the one,
Everbridge
I'm
is
familiar
the
with that.
predominant one, but Nixon
Yeah,
is
emergency
like one of
management.
their service underwriting agents.
Everbridge will send text messages out.
Right, and they offer one where it'll do pushes to your phone as well, but just thinking through like, you know, if there's things that we can do to be, you know, better about being proactive in notification, because I think in some of those cases, if we just say, hey, there's an outage, put it to Facebook, but not everybody's on Facebook, and like, if I'm working, I'm not on Facebook, right?
So
And
we,
it's
the
not
water
necessarily- yeah.
break that happened last.
Yeah, and not taking away from, you know, our response, but by and large, you know, we're on top of it, we've got to resolve it very quickly, but, you know, if there's other things that we can do to say, hey, you know, here's the problem, you know, we're going to get it remedied as quick as we can. That some of those might be beneficial.
That would be great, because then you could also say commission meeting, you could also let people know about celebrations,
Special
events
events.
that are going on and all that, and that way people don't have to just count on seeing it on social media.
Or like when we had Santa go around the city and, you know, the sirens were blowing and everybody knew and then everybody was mad because, sorry for generating some calls for you. That's all.
Motion for
Can I
adjournment.
just, I don't know where to go, when
well, there's motion, so there needs to be a second for there to be discussion.
Okay, so, for discussion, so, you know, for the past few months, I was trying to do something in honor of, Mayor Wilson and doing the, you know, the play apparatus in honor of her having a car dealership and having a play apparatus that has to do with the car. And, it was approved, and then all of a sudden, at the last meeting, it was re-voted on, and then nobody wanted it. But the reason why people said they didn't want it was because they said, well, she and JR are not the only ones that, passed away while they were mayors. And the big reason why everybody was saying no to what I was doing was because they were saying, well, we don't want to show preferential treatment to those two, so we're going to do a monument, and we're going to put everybody's name that ever passed in the city, and that way it's fair to everybody. And that was why everybody went back and turned away what I wanted to do. So this coming up randomly about there now being a park in the name of both of them, I'm just a little confused, because the whole reason why I was told we couldn't do the play structure in honor of her was because it wasn't fair to all the other people that had passed, and that everybody had agreed years before to do a memorial and put all those people's names on, you know, a plate. So I'm just confused on how we're back and we're forth and we're back and we're forth. I mean, I think, you know, doing something in honor of them, whether it be a park or, you know, a play apparatus, I think all that is great. I'm just confused because everybody voted not to do the thing, and the whole reason was we don't want to show preferential treatment to these two when there are so many others. But now it would be said, well, we're going to do it for these two. So I'm just confused. It just seems a lot of yin-yang and a lot of back and forth. So I'm a little dizzy from that.
I believe they were gonna call it Mayor's Park in honor of.
Those two people, right. But then the reason last month that we didn't do the other thing was we don't want to do it in one or two people's names, because then it's not fair to everybody else. And that's why you guys remember this, right? That this was the reason why it wasn't, was because you're going to put it on a monument with all the people's names and all the history that have been in. So that bringing this up is fine. I mean, that's Susie's husband. I think it's a great thing. And obviously, I'm all for that kind of thing. But I'm just confused on, you know, is it just if I bring it up, it's going to not go to vote and it's going to be no? Or if somebody else brings it up, then it's going to be okay in a circular way. So, I mean, that's what I have to say on, because if you look at all the voting, it's like, it's passing, and then suddenly now we're going to go back and now it's not, and now we're going to do something else that's sort of like it. So I'm just confused.
I don't know that I followed that it passed.
You weren't, yeah, you guys just came on last month, but you were in the audience the month before, where it was everybody, I mean, Tom and her husband gave the thumbs up, and everybody was yes, and then all of a sudden it appeared the next month, which was last month, on it, and then it was, we have to suddenly re-vote, which makes no sense, because I don't even think that's legal, that it's already passed, and now suddenly it's going to come back up, and now everybody said no. But the reason everybody said no to the little playground Jeep with, you know, in honor of her name on the license plate was specifically for the reason of, well, we don't want to put it just in honor of her, because what about JR and what about all the other people? And then there was this monument that I'd never heard of, but apparently everybody knew about in years past, that was going to be put after, you know, it somewhere, and then there's gonna, it's just a lot of not random things that are not being told, and then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, we've always known about this monument that's gonna happen. And so, you know, being a commissioner, it's a little, and then I can't imagine how confusing that is for some United commissioner who's a resident who's sitting through all of it, like what's happening. But I mean, again, you're Susie's husband, I love the idea, but I'm just used to having 12 to 2. It's just a little bit confusing.
Yeah, if it was 520 East Lake Avenue, yeah, I gave you a thumbs up. I talked to Tom a month or two prior to this. That's why I didn't ever get to say anything.
You talked to him about the park?
Yeah, about the park. And I'm the one that brought it up. I thought it'd be nice to have J.R. Sullivan's name on there also.
Right. So you brought it up to city manager, Tom, before I had brought it.
And that's why I didn't ever get up, because I'd done talking to him previously.
Okay, and he never told us, or maybe he told everybody but me, about that. And then, so when I brought up the play thing, and you were like, yes, that would be great, she would love that. And then,
He was going to bring it up at the fall meeting, and then I guess he got hurt.
Say that one part again, what?
I said that he was gonna bring it up at the following meeting,
Okay.
but he got hurt, so he wasn't never able to bring it up. So I guess he asked Miss Dawn if she would,
See,
continue.
because if you had told him a couple meetings before that, and then everybody said yes to it, and everybody, including Tom, said that's a great thing, yes, that means you guys already had the conversation about the park, because then Tom, the city manager, should have said, actually, we've already discussed the park, and my play idea would be great in that park, but he never said any of that, and that would have been the perfect time to bring up the city manager, that he had a conversation with you being Susie's husband, and that my little Jeep play apparatus would fit in perfectly, but he never said any of that. But then we all voted unanimously, I know because it's the first time anybody's ever said yes to anything that I've done, so it sticks out of my head.
No, it's beautiful.
And then the very next meeting, which was last month, suddenly it's on the agenda again, and everybody says no to it. And I'm like, it's already passed. What's going on here? And the whole reason why it was not, suddenly now it's not passed unanimously is because they don't think it's fair to put something in one person's name or two people's name because we have these other people. So again, I'm just saying is it just because I'm bringing things up, and when I bring it up, it's never going to pass? Because that's what it's been since April when I started.
That particular thing, Kristen, we look back on it, and it was brought up. But it was
The
never-
park or the monument?
We're supposed to talk about it, all of us.
The park. So you knew about it too?
Yes, but I'm speaking about the chief that you were talking about.
The what?
The play structure.
The play structure. So I brought that up 2 months ago. Yeah.
But that was discussed, but it never, there was a motion and never a second. We looked back through the minutes of the meeting.
It was, because it's the only thing that's ever been passed. Everybody, I mean, not that we need the audience, but I mean, even Tom was like, yeah, Susie's husband's on board, and everybody up there, because these two are brand new from last month, but the other was 3 of us.
It was nice what you done.
But what I'm saying is that legally, it was all passed.
And I figured something a little bit bigger would be nicer, you know.
Right, but what you're saying with your timeline is that the city manager, he's not here right now, sadly he's, not able to be able to speak on this, but you're telling me that he knew about the possibility of there being a park that you would have requested. It would have been the perfect timing for him to bring that up. Then a couple months later, when I'm sitting up here not knowing about a park that other people apparently do, and then I'm saying, let's put a Jeep climbing apparatus with Susie's name on and then I went already and bought had it made, the license plate. He then should have said, well, actually, I just had a conversation with Susie's husband, and he's thinking about doing a park. I would have been like, well, this is amazing, because I didn't know about that, and I'm thinking about a play thing. And it went, voted yes. Next month, suddenly we have to re-vote. Now it's no.
I thought just a discussion.
So now we're at no on the play apparatus, and then the very next month, it's let's do a park in her name. And I'm like, I'm so confused, because you can look back at all of it, and eventually, my son's back at my son's working, so he's 2 months behind on getting the YouTube, stuff on it, but it's all on there, and eventually everybody will be able to see the chronological order of how all of this unfolded. I'm just saying,
They never did vote on it.
but they did, that's the thing, is it was voted on.
Discussion, and
It
we
was
never
voted
did
on.
talk about it. It's supposed to be at the next meeting, and that's why I didn't get up, it's because I done talk to Tom about that. I was waiting till he brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I'm just confused on, it just seems like there's supposed to be like structure and order to things, and when we vote on it, it's supposed to be, that's it, and then we don't re-bring it up and then say no, and then now we're gonna do something that's similar. It's just,
Voted on for ideals,
for
for
what?
everybody to bring their ideals in, where they thought would be best.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
not the
I
way
voted on.
Tom orchestrated this. He had a conversation with you months before. Some commission knew, some didn't. I mean, but again, this all falls into a good city manager keeps people informed.
And the meeting, everybody's supposed to bring their ideals up.
Right, exactly. And that should have been the perfect time that,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the time that a city manager says, actually, her husband brought up a park, and then we could have all discussed it, but it's never been brought up until tonight.
He got hurt before then, after that.
Right, but I'm saying you guys had that discussion months before I even brought up.
Mayor Vitage stated the city is not ready to move forward with item at this time. Also, he stated others have passed while one commission, such as the former mayor,
coming up on his time. So she has to introduce herself into the mic, correct?
Just please state the name.
Pamela Cheney, 790 North 8th Street.
Thank you.
It's right here in the minutes. You're welcome, but it's right here in the
Everybody
minutes.
puts some brought up their ideals,
Yes,
and
but
then you
that's,
got hurt, so he couldn't have that.
exactly, and that's what it says right here.
Right, he got hurt after all of your conversation with him months ago, and then when I brought up the play apparatus, and then it was saying yes, and then the next month it was saying no, and now the very next month after that, it's,
Well, it
can we do a
says-
park? So that's the timeline.
It says Mayor Mitosh, right here, Mayor Mitosh stated the city is not ready to move forward with it at this time.
And that was last month, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that was after we'd already voted the month
Can
before.
I speak, please?
I'm giving you
I'm
the
giving
correct
you- I have my
information.
minutes here.
Yeah, that was last
So-
month, and the month before that,
Okay.
it was voted yes.
Can you please stop and let me finish?
But what you're saying is from last month, and I'm already given the timeline.
Oh, she just doesn't know when to shut up.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, so why don't we just put it on the agenda for next month then, when Mr. Mitosh is here? And do it that way.
So this is a discussion amongst us, correct? So people coming up, is this not the correct time? Because when it's supposed to be.
But because I brought this back up, it was
Right.
under the city manager.
But I'm saying the time frame.
This might be the time frame, but because the motion is on the floor, you have to open it up to the audience.
Right, but I was still trying to explain everything because we have 2 new commissioners that just came in. And so I was trying to catch everybody up on the timeline of everything. So like I keep saying a bunch of times, I think it's a great idea, but I'm just confused on how we got to this point when,
Well, your ideals are beautiful, have to decorate this sign, Mayor's Park sign.
well, I'm not doing the park sign. It was, the idea was the
Yeah, but
play
I mean,
apparatus.
Add this in some kind of way to the park.
Right, so then that would be bringing it up for a third time when it's been yes and then no. So,
The
Well,
first,
I'm gonna interrupt here because we're getting off topic now. Mr. Wilson told me that he brought this up to Mr. Earnhardt. And after the last meeting, when Mr. Mitosh said that we needed to incorporate other important individuals that had an impact on the city, Mr. Wilson came back to me and said, hey, why don't we include former Mayor Sullivan into the park, as I had talked with Tom about it, and I said that would be a great idea because we could honor 2 lifelong residents of Eagle Lake that made a huge impact on the city. And I said that I would bring it up. At no time, to my knowledge, has Mr. Wilson talked to any of the commissioners about it and/or had Tom talk to it, because at the time when Jimmy first brought it up, he only wanted it named after Susie, and then after hearing what Mayor Mitosh said, he decided that he would like to change it and name the park in memory of both Susie and JR.
And,
And him and I were spitballing, I hate to use that word, but we were talking about what a possible name was, and we came up with Mayor's Park, because then it would honor mayors of Eagle Lake, but in Susie and JR's memory.
right,
She's been over here since the 80s, and then JR was chief of police, and, I mean, he was mayor also for a long
right.
time.
So again, I think all of that's
I
great.
think we're losing focus on the importance. I understand that you are upset that you know how I don't remember a motion on a car being done, and I can't research that far back right here. But I will do that if I have to.
Don, didn't you and I research
I
that?
thought we didn't, I don't remember a motion being made, but until I look at it, I don't want to say yes or no. But my point is, we're here talking about honoring 2 people.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing, and instead of veering off topic, right now, we're looking at, do we want to move forward on naming the park after, in honor of Susie and JR? Do we want to name it Mayor's Park? If we do, let's go to that item first, and then when we are going through the CDBG process, we have that money, we have to look and go out to bid for playground equipment, and maybe we can make a motion to start that process, because that money needs to be spent by September 30th of this year. We can start looking for maybe a car that will meet the handicap accessible requirements grant, we have
Yeah,
to
it's grant
follow
money, so it's
the
gotta follow the
rules.
requirements.
So instead of disagreeing on how we came, you know, how we're coming to this, let's just agree that this is a great idea. Let's move forward with the idea, and then we can try to incorporate your idea.
That's where I was going with
as
this,
well.
was it gonna be,
I mean,
that was what I was
but
saying,
once
this could be included, yeah.
But once again, we have to follow the rules of CDBG.
Right, but that's why I was bringing this up, was because he liked it before, was he saying the doing the park and then possibly putting the car that I had suggested into it, that's where I was going with this, or was this just the park being Mayor's Park, and then that was it? I was trying to get clarity on it, so.
But it's Mayor's Park in memory of.
Right,
So, but like I said, that, instead of the back and forth, maybe we can just move forward and.
So this is only talking about just naming the park, but the park itself, we don't know what it's gonna look like in the future because that's still being designed.
You know, we just did a big project last year down there, and this is adding to that park, and I believe, when we had our CDBG meeting, Sandy, this might finish that park. No, I'm talking Sandy,
It's stated right here, the Assistant Public Works Director, Dan Jansen stated it was his, it was his understanding that the monument is on hold until the new building is completed, as the monument is quite expensive, and that the city does not want to put something up and then to have to tear it down during the construction.
And the monument is still gonna happen
Yes.
after the new building is done. So yes, I mean, everybody is correct in what they're remembering to a degree here, but again, we're veering off topic. We need to just stay focused on the motion on the table. The motion is to naming the park Mayor's Park in memory of Susie and Vera.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is this a roll call?
Yes, please. Commissioner Kohler,
Yes.
Commissioner Peta,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Mayor Meeker.
Yes.
And can I make a, just for clarification right now, so there's no question moving forward, this motion is that the name of the park is, but it does not contemplate there being any signage ordered, anything like that right now, correct?
No,
This is just that,
According to what I put in the memo to the commission that was in the packet, is that once the park is completed, we'll have a dedication ceremony. At that point, we'll have the signage and everything up. Sammy has already researched signage through one of our, approved vendors that we use for the different park things. So at this point, you know, we're gonna be moving forward in the direction of naming the park and getting everything.
so as it's designed and planned, that's gonna be the name that we'll be designing and to be on future signs that ultimately end up, okay, whether it's CDBG funds or city
Can we
funds.
clarify one other thing too?
Sure.
The monument that they were speaking of
Yes.
is one that would be going up here.
At
in the
City
new
Hall, with the new City Hall complex, we're gonna put a monument, and you'll be able to put, if I'm, Brian, if I'm, a little placard on the monument, correct?
Well, yeah, you don't know this personal to me, so. I'm not good with these little plastic sticker sign, we're gonna get a real.
Yeah, no, we're talking about the monument, you know, when we talk about the monument, you'd have like
Right.
engraved little areas to put
Correct,
on
it'll
it.
be true bronze, real,
Yes.
not this, I'm gonna go get a sign that's on job, stuff where they can scratch it all up and all that stuff.
But, you know, and I wanted just to make a comment about the monument that's being discussed. This is something that's been discussed over many years, and it's been something that's morphed. So as far as looking back for, I don't know that there's ever been a motion to say this is exactly what we're going to do, exactly where it's going to be located, what it's going to look like. It's just, this has been just over many years, the consensus of the commission as it's changed, that ultimately in the future planning of the city, this is something that's a goal, but I don't think anybody knows exactly what it's going to look like, or maybe even exactly where it's going to be located. But
When we started discussing tearing this down and building a new city hall, that's when all that took off. Because you walk around here and see signs and names and whatnot stuck above the door, makes it look like a prison outside. I don't mind saying it. You know, we're gonna clean all that up. We're gonna burn the fuel. I ain't gonna let them get it, first of all. So, yeah.
But and I think that's an important thing to remember, just as you know, this project and any other city project, it's a process, and so even just, you know, with regard to certain pieces of playground equipment or what have you, it's a process, so sometimes it does morph and change a little bit as things go and as people learn more information, but I think we just, be a little patient with one another and
And we got certain guidelines we have to follow, like I see the little thing that she had proposed and whatnot, we have a certain standard we have to have, and it ain't cheap, and, you know, you gotta pick your way through it to get the most out of your money, so we'll do that. And y'all see it before we do it. So,
ultimately, everything will be back before the commission for ultimate blessings.
Because Ron's wife is very adamant with me about it, Dawn was very adamant with me about it, you know, so she talks about it.
And going back even to things like the city seal, I don't know if anybody's that's on Corey, you may have been on the commission back when the city, I mean, it's so much as, you know, well, what shade of blue do we want for the sky, and what kind of font do we want? I mean, there's these sometimes, you know, these things, how long did they
Which
talk
direction
about?
do you want to speak together?
Which direction, exactly, things, but, you know, just that,
Yes.
I think it's changed since then, but it wasn't there, but,
It's twice since then, yeah, but, yeah.
sometimes there is not a small amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth. When we get there.
Yes. And sometimes you gotta play by other rules, like to Don's point, especially when it comes to the CDBG funds, because that's federal money, and so the federal money has different stipulations and guidelines to it too, so. But yes, I like the concept of honoring them through something that's representative of your contributions within society, right? JR was a mentor to me on commission. He was a stand-up guy. Susie was amazing as well. I appreciated both of them. I know he was well revered at Legoland. He was one of the first park rangers, right? Like, he's a good guy. And so I think it's, you know, looking for opportunities that we can take to, you know, to honor that.
Yeah. And I had no idea about a monument until literally we were up here talking about it, so.
And it's not losing sight of those that we've lost from